Greetings, Tarotphiles, and welcome to the Tarot Gardens YouTube channel. I'm Taliesin Roth, and today we're going to look at 6 interesting facts about this fascinating amalgamation of 78 pieces of cardboard that even many seasoned readers aren't aware of. Number 1. Strictly speaking, the Strength and Justice cards in most modern tarot decks are arranged backwards. While there have been many versions of card decks over the last 500 years, collectively classified under the heading of tarot, the only thing these variations have in common, the thing that separates tarots from what we would refer to today as ordinary playing cards, is the inclusion of a set of special pictorial cards called the triumphs, or trumps, along with the suited cards. The number of trumps can fluctuate depending on the variant. For example, the Minchiate style tarot typically includes 40 trump cards, while the Bolognese pattern contains only 21. As long as trumps are included, a deck can arguably be termed a tarot. The historical tarot variant considered to be the primary predecessor to contemporary tarot decks is the Marseille pattern, which encompasses 22 trumps, also referred to in modern parlance as the Major Arcana. Initially unnumbered in the original Italian form, the Marseille deck picked up a numbered sequence as it evolved and spread north into France. Up through the end of the 19th century, the sequence placed the card known as Justice earlier in the ordering than that of the one called Strength, the former being assigned the numerical value of 8 and the latter 11. Now, as the cards morphed from being primarily regarded as a card game and came to be the subject of study of the 19th century esotericists, all manner of symbolism was grafted onto the trumps in order to satisfy the pet theories of various authors on the subject. Arguably the most influential symbol correspondence system was the one put forth by the Order of the Golden Dawn, a late 19th century occult society, in whose studies tarot played a central role. According to the Golden Dawn, the proper astrological correspondence for the major arcana placed the astrological sign Leo in position 8 and the sign of Libra in position 11. It was Golden Dawn member Arthur Edward Waite who, upon publishing the first commercial esoterically themed tarot in 1909, reversed the traditional Marseille order of the Justice and Strength cards. Presumably, this was done to bring the ordering more in line with the Golden Dawn's astrological teachings, with Leo more naturally aligning with the presence of the lion figure on the Strength card, and Libra's scales seeming a more natural fit for Justice. The Golden Dawn itself, however, never made these rearrangements in their own teachings, and when fellow Golden Dawn member Aleister Crowley designed his now famous Thoth tarot deck, he retained the Marseille ordering of Justice as 8 and Strength as 11. Nevertheless, as arguably the most influential tarot deck in the world, the trump sequence of Waite's tarot became the one to set the standard for most tarots designed today, although both versions of the sequence are considered to be correct by contemporary tarot scholars. Number 2. There isn't just one, or even two, but rather multiple separate schools of thought regarding the proper elemental correspondences for the suits of the tarot's minor arcana. The minor arcana, the 4 sets of 14 suited cards that accompany the tarot's major arcana trumps, are often assigned their significance in a tarot reading or meditation based on each one's associated alchemical element of fire, water, air, or earth. In the system of the aforementioned Golden Dawn, the elements are assigned as follows: wands, rods, or staves as fire, cups as water, swords as air, and coins or pentacles as earth. In contrast, neo-pagan traditions, particularly those with roots in Gardnerian Wicca, align wands with air and swords with fire, reversing the Golden Dawn assignment for those two suits. Both systems are arguably understandable on an intuitive level, and while the Golden Dawn system is more prominently cited of the two, the Wiccan system is far from uncommon. Other systems exist, however. One of the more noteworthy examples is the Spanish school of tarot, which was influenced by the writings of a French occultist by the name of Eudes Picard. The term Spanish school arises from the system's adoption by a few of the more prominent modern Spanish tarot decks, including the Balbi Tarot and El Gran Tarot Esotérico. In Picard's system, wands remain assigned to fire and pentacles to earth, but the correspondence of the remaining two suits are switched such that swords are aligned with water and cups with air. While appearing infrequently, this correspondence system does show up from time to time in mass market tarots, making for some confusing imagery for those not familiar with the Spanish school approach. Take, for example, Elisabetta Trevisan's Crystal Tarot, with its butterfly-laden cup cards and swords that float among images of fluidly geometric fish. Adherents of both the Golden Dawn and Wiccan systems are likely to find the reassignment of cups away from the water element particularly disconcerting. Number 3. The true roots of tarot aren't Egyptian, or even pagan, they're Christian. The idea that tarot cards were invented in ancient Egypt originated in the late 18th century. The notion continued to gain traction up through the middle of the 20th century, when academic research into the subject concluded there was no basis for such a claim. And though depictions of tarot in the contemporary mainstream media may have left many with the impression that the cards are pagan or even demonic in nature, the historical evidence plainly suggests otherwise. While modern tarots often do include pagan, mystical, or occult symbolism, most are in fact building off a foundation that is demonstrably Christian in nature. The earliest existing references to tarot cards date back to the 14th century. The earliest extant examples come from 15th century Italy, where the decks were used for game playing and were not yet generally associated with fortune-telling pursuits. The populace in that area at the time were, unsurprisingly, overwhelmingly Catholic, and the trump card's imagery reflected the noble, clerical, and theological elements of their culture. Research suggests that cards such as strength, temperance, and justice were included to represent Christian virtues, while figures such as the Empress, Emperor, and Pope, the later often now retitled as the Hierophant in modern decks, depicted persons of importance in Renaissance society. While today such cards as Death and the Devil are often cited as evidence of tarot's satanic underpinnings, it can be argued that for Italian card players in the 1400s, such images would have incited no more controversy than the mention of the same within theological texts. That said, there is documented evidence of the Church's resistance to, and even condemnation of, tarot from this early time period, but not for the reasons of heresy. Rather, it was the card's employment in gambling activities that incited the occasional clerical denouncements of their use. Number 4. If you were to guess which tarot card is most closely associated with the concept of human free will, which one would you choose? Chances are that for most people, the major arcana, Lovers, would be pretty far down on that list. Yet within many schools of tarot philosophy, the Lover's card is arguably the one that best expresses the idea of self-determination. This isn't to say that the more common and intuitive interpretation of the Lovers isn't, well, love and the constellation of concepts surrounding it, relationships, marriage, sex, emotional entanglements, and the like. And on the surface, these associations seem to be far afield from the idea of free will, as we generally tend toward the belief that if there's one thing we don't have much control over, it's the romantic yearnings of our hearts. However, it's interesting to note that historically, the Lover's card was often titled The Lover, singular, and depicted a man standing between two women. Above, a Cupid-like angel is poised with bow drawn, ready to let fly the arrow of passion. The implication is that the arrow's passionate energies will flow into and through the man, but he is in control of where he will direct those energies. Furthermore, in some later esoteric decks, such as Crowley's Thoth Tarot, the man and singular woman shown are intended to represent different aspects of the human psyche, the superconscious and subconscious in the case of Crowley's deck in particular, being harmoniously wedded in order to self-actualize. So while the appearance of the Lover's card in a tarot reading may indeed portend a new relationship on the horizon, it may equally well represent a reminder that regardless of what the cards predict, nothing is set in stone, and that we, in the end, always have a choice. Number 5. While many have claimed that the famous Rider-Waite Tarot was groundbreaking for being the first to include scenic pips, that is, to render full scenic illustrations on the numbered suit cards instead of simply patterned arrangements of the suit symbol, there are in fact multiple instances of tarots predating Waite's deck that includes scenic illustrations on the pips as well as the trumps. In fact, several tarot scholars have put forth the idea that the most famous of these, the Solabusca tarot, created in the late 15th century, was a major influence on the Rider-Waite tarot's artist, Pamela Colman Smith. According to current theory, Waite provided fairly precise instructions to Smith about the rendition of the majors, but left her a rather wide berth regarding the execution of the minors. Furthermore, 2 years prior to the initial publication of the Rider-Waite tarot, the British Museum obtained photographs of a complete version of the Solabusca deck from the Solabusca family. Some speculate that Smith may have been exposed to the Solabusca through the museum, as several of her minor Arcana cards bear striking pictorial similarities to the historical deck, most particularly the 3 of Swords and 10 of Wands, which are arguably near compositional duplicates. And finally, number 6. The tarot in the 1973 James Bond film Live and Let Die was almost designed by Salvador Dali. In the 8th installment of the James Bond film franchise, the story's Femme Fatale Solitaire uses a tarot to predict future events. Initially, the film's creators invited Dali to create cards for the film, but as reported by Rachel Pollack in her 1990 book The New Tarot, it was decided that Dali's designs were too avant-garde for audiences to recognize. In order to convey the card's intended meanings as quickly and clearly as possible within the context of the film, the producers instead engaged the services of a relatively unknown illustrator by the name of Fergus Hall. While only a few cards appeared in the final film, Hall produced illustrations for an entire 78-card deck, although his pip cards were rendered in the traditional Marseille pattern's non-scenic style. For a number of years after the film's release, the card deck was made available by American card publisher US Game System under the title The James Bond 007 Tarot. Later, after the film's popularity had waned, US Games repackaged the cards under the title of The Witch's Tarot, and as of this video's recording date of July 2020, the deck can still be purchased under that title. Interestingly though, with the deck's origins slowly becoming forgotten under its new name, Hall's images have come under fire from tarot readers and students for their perceived oversimplified and stereotyped renditions. However, oversimplified and stereotyped was exactly what was demanded for efficiently relating the film's story. In the meantime, despite being rejected for use in the movie, Salvador Dali completed his tarot deck. It was first published by Spanish card maker Napes Comas in 1984 and currently remains in print through other publishers. With typical Dali hubris, he rendered himself as the deck's magician and his wife Gala as the empress. Furthermore, it has been reported that another reason Dali's deck may have been rejected for the film was that the face of the emperor was purportedly modeled after Sean Connery, despite the fact that Live and Let Die was the first Bond film for which Roger Moore took over the role. And there we have it. We hope you enjoyed this somewhat random assortment of interesting tarot trivia, and if you love tarot cards, whether for reading, collecting, studying, games, or any other use, we hope you'll visit us at www.tarotgarden.com. We offer the world's widest variety of tarots, from popular domestic imprint titles to small press decks to imports to out-of-print collectibles. We're also an informational site with details and samples of over 2,000 tarot and Lenormand decks from the 20th and 21st centuries. We also have other informative and humorous videos on our YouTube channel, so while you're here, you may want to check out some of those as well. For the Tarot Garden, I'm Taliesin Roth, wishing you good fun and good fortune. And thank you for watching.